to listen, I need you to hear, and don't show any fear. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight, we will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight, yeah. We are heroes tonight, we will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight, town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the World of Football podcast here on the Dugout Football channel. Hope everybody's had a fantastic weekend. We've got loads more to talk about, from Champions League to Manchester United suffering another defeat at Goodison Park, Everton climbing closer to safety, Green Benzema denting Chelsea's Champions League hopes, Cardiff City coming back from a 1-0 deficit to beat Reading on the road with an 85th minute goal to get the 3 points, which I'm sure Nathan after that first half was probably wanting to leave the ground. We've got loads to talk about within about an hour and a half to 2 hour space. As everybody can see, there will be no Douglas tonight. Doug has got other commitments, but he has gracefully given me the reins to run the show tonight. And we will be joined by Carl, the Leeds fan, around about 8 o'clock. Hopefully, Doug sent the link to him, because I haven't. So, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that's all went to plan. If he doesn't turn up, don't blame me. So, we've got this usual suspect free with us. I think Nathan and me are the only two high ones, the two bottom ones. Yeah, I think Reese's mix and George just wants to bang his head off a wall. I think he's running out of words to talk about Manchester United. Nathan, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing very well, thanks. Yeah, solid win at the weekend. How and if we won that in the end was an absolute miracle, but I'm still not happy at the club for obvious reasons. Thanks for having me on as usual.
Reese in the bottom left. I actually see a comment on saying Reese was actually in the light for once, which actually thought was quite funny, because I'm known the one to be in dark. Obviously not at the moment, because we're coming to the summertime and it's still nice and bright this time. But Reece, I thought I was the one in darkness. But anyway, you're more than free to take that new title if you wish.
Yeah, darkness is my middle name. Well, it would be. Well, it would be if I had free reign. Good to see you, lads. Good to see you.
Obviously, Reece also met up with Doug for in real life, but we won't get on to that as we talk about. As we will talk about the Scottish Premiership later on. And George, I don't know how you come on this show and smile, because it's hard to smile about Manchester United. I know you're the only person who I don't think you support any other clubs European-wise, so United is your soul, breathing, and it's just hard to be positive about them. Well, don't talk too much about them now. We'll save that for later. Outside of Manchester United, how was your weekend?
Yeah, very good. Obviously, excellent match yesterday, which we'll get on to, and yeah, overall quite good. Obviously, had a nice time at the cinema as well, and yeah, great weekend.
You love that cinema. You do talk about the cinema a lot. Everybody wants any cinema suggestions? There's your man. Just to say, Kyle Knott, I've put you on a timeout for your comments. Your comment was unacceptable. Just that's I don't give any warnings for that. Just please reiterate any looks to anybody within a Nazi look. I think that is completely unacceptable in all shape, way, or form. Reece is definitely not a Nazi, and we'll leave it at that. So
I am definitely not a fucking Nazi.
Yes, so Calno, please, when you're talking about dance, if you're still on the stream, please do not make any comments like that again. That's your one and only warning. Hello, James. Good to see you in the chat. Hello, Liz. Good to see you as well. Bellerim, hope you're doing very, very well. George is in the chat talking to anybody. Everyone wants to ask George any side questions, please feel free. Welcome. You'll get a very good explanation, that's for sure. As a Liverpool fan, I want to celebrate the mess that is Manchester United. I feel bad for their fans, or some of their fans. Well, you feel bad for George. George is actually a nice man. I could have quite a few wrong with Everton as well, but sadly, we actually turned off for once. We will talk about all of these games. He had a fabulous weekend. And Josh. Oh yeah, Josh. I had a fabulous weekend actually. I think it was one of the best weekends I've had in a while. Hello, Yeti boy. Hope you're doing very well. We're delighted. Thank you. Yeah, I think Manchester United fans, if you're going to be a dickhead to read, at least make it irrelevant. That's probably the most Anthony comment you will ever. I wish I wasn't on my husband's tablet. I would have banned him. Don't worry about it, Liz. I was straight on to that. Send any comments I got are absolutely not welcome on any channel, regardless if Doug is here or not. I will most certainly allow those comments to be made. So let's start off with the Premier League. I'm actually going to, rather than, we're not going to talk about the League 2 game at first. Normally we do start with the big game and work our way down. We're going to do it differently because I think there's a lot of talking points about that Manchester City Liverpool game that I want to kind of see out till the end. So we're going to start off with the bottom game, which was Norwich 2, Burnley 0. In a game that, even though it was a good win for Norwich at home, probably is too little too late unless they go on a fucking mad one and come and Dean Smith turns them into prime Barcelona and they somehow stay up, but I think they're good as gone. George, Burnley got a massive win midweek against Everton, and then they go to Norwich. They were outplayed. Maxwell Corney missed an absolute sitter, which was crucial in that game, and ever since then, Norwich kind of took the reins. Burnley just, I think Burnley might just stay up because I feel like they have enough about them, but it's a very big and losing to Norwich there at the weekend for them.
100%. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you've expected United to have beaten Everton. I mean, that's what we should have done. Players had decided to actually turn up, but what that did mean, obviously coming back to the match that we're now talking about, what that did mean was that Burnley now knew that they obviously had this 4-point gap, which they had to try and make up, and obviously you'd expect them to try and with Norwich all but gone, you'd expect them to try and obviously secure much needed 3 points at that juncture. As you spoke about, I think that the key moment of that match though was Cornet missing. It was quite poor by his standards really, because he's scored some really great goals for them for Burnley. But yeah, obviously Burnley's defence sometimes just comes back to haunt them. Obviously on the Pookie goal especially, I mean the defending there is he's almost like the Invisible Man. He's got the Harry Potter cloak of invisibility through the defence, because there's absolutely no one within about 5 to 10 metres of him. So yeah, poor defending by them, and obviously what that does mean for Norwich is that there is a slim, but as you said, it's very, very slim indeed. There is a slim chance of them staying up. But for me, I think all that the sort of weekends meant is that there's 4 teams, 3 of which will go down, obviously between Everton, Burnley, Watford and Norwich, because there seems to be quite a big points gap again, obviously to get into the 30s, which I don't necessarily see Burnley, who are now obviously on 24. I don't necessarily see them maybe getting as many points as they need to drag any other clubs in. So yeah, poor result for Burnley. But Burnley are the cockroach in the nuclear war. They're going to survive somehow. So we'll just have to wait and see in the next couple of months what happens.
George, a question from Liz. What did you see at the cinema?
Can't even remember. Give me one.
Must have been a good film, man.
George was even.
I know. It was the Fantastic Beasts. Obviously the Harry Potter thing. That's probably why I had my cloak and visibility. That's probably what the memory of that was probably what.
Hello, Cedric. Hope you're doing very well. It was. Cornet has been absolutely exceptional for Burnley. I think he came in and I think he's done really, really well. He's definitely helped them in the offensive side of the game. But it was a bad sitter he missed, and if it wasn't for Nick Pope, Norwich would have won that game by 3-4 goals. I think Nick Pope made some exceptional saves. Nathan, Obviously, George just spoke about Burnley. Regarding Norwich, Dean Smith has came in and he has made them slightly better. I think the quality in the squad is too bad to really stay up in the league, but Dean Smith has went in and he has made them tougher to beat. Just they do lack that quality on both sides of the pitch. Do you see Dean Smith pulling off the Great Escape?
Absolutely no chance. I mean, even if you look at the stats in that one, Burnley should have really won that game, but just because they couldn't finish their chances, they gave Norwich too much respect. Yeah, they were never going to win that. But the thing I noticed with looking at the highlights for this one, and from what I was hearing as well on the way out from Reading on Saturday, was Burnley. Sean Dyche earmarks that Everton game as one of the most crucial games of the season for them to stay up. But when they look at Norwich thinking, they're just going to go, this should be an easy win. They're pretty much already relegated. We should be able to get something out of this and give them respect. Look what happens. Burnley went into this game with a completely wrong attitude and should have gone into it thinking, right, we have got to win this game. We cannot disrespect Norwich considering how bad they are. But yeah, not good. As for Dean Smith and making them better, I mean, realistically, when they get relegated to the Championship next season, are they going to bounce back? Absolutely not. I mean, out of that starting lineup, he even looks weak enough for the Championship. Pukki, he's going to start to flop now. Rashika, I can't see him being there next season. Norman, I can't see him being there next season. Hanley and Gibson probably on their way out as well. Looking at the bench for him, Zimmerman, no chance. Aarons will be gone. Brandon Williams, there's no way he's sticking around. So very, very concerning from a Norwich note. They've got a massive rebuild next year in the Championship, and there's no way that they are going to bounce back first time.
Rita, we'll come to you. I'm going to ask you a very simple question because I know you despise Burnley and you have no time for Norwich, so you just want to send both clubs down?
Yeah.
I do.
I'll be honest. I think the only thing is it's not that I don't like Burnley, is I don't like the style of football. I hate that anti-football style of football. It really does bore the tits off me. Whereas Norwich are just a pointless football club. Like, they're just pointless. Like, they just come up and do the same thing every year. They don't prepare for the league in any way, shape, or form.
And
that's always going to. Yeah, that's their downfall. I don't know if it's because their owner or just the lack of intent from their board. I don't know, but they just come up and do the same thing every year. Whereas Burnley, their style of football just bores me to death. But when it's not against United, it's fine. But when it's against United, it's painful. But I'm just sick of the football. But I actually wonder where Burnley would be if they actually lost Sean Dyche. I actually do wonder where they would be, because even if they played better football, I don't think they'd progress. I think he's generally he's like that foundation where once it collapses, it's gone.
Yeah.
Well, we're not anti-football. We've just unfortunately got a stupid player at centre half.
I mean, then again, you could sort of see the same thing with, I'll take you guys for example. What happened after Sir Alex Ferguson left, where there's been a little bit of a curse ever since. Yes, you've had your good moments, but you are no way in the same situation that you used to be at all, if you think about it. And
that's true.
Because he was the life and soul of the club. He had everything there perfect. Yes, the squad leading into that Moyes season was old. He did leave probably at the correct time when it was that last season. He could probably get the best out of that squad. But then again, with Burnley, it went, Sean Dyche is going to leave at some point. The owners, and for me, they do have really good owners as well, Burnley, since the Americans took over. They have to hatch a plan of what they want the style of play to be moving forward, who they want to bring in, and a philosophy at the club moving away, where if they want to stick with the sort of thing that Dyche has got going, or if they want to move away from it. So, for example, if they want to bring in young players, if they want to do what we used to do back in the late noughties and bring in, old superstars, your Floyd Hasselbanks, your Robbie Fowlers, that sort of thing. But they've got to get this nails on the head, ready for when he does leave the club. And if I'm honest, make the wrong decision, they won't be back up in the Premier League for years. They will be back to where they were originally, and that was a mid-table Championship side.
Reece, I just want to ask you a quick question. Obviously, two players who are on loan at Norwich, me and you highly rate, obviously, Billy Gilmore and Brandon Williams. You know, they went to this. Do you think that this is kind of like maybe a good example to why maybe these Premier League clubs should not loan out these players to clubs like Norwich who are going to go back down, who aren't strong in the Premier League, or do you think no matter what the experience is valuable because they aren't going to be going back into that club in the Championship?
It's a good question, actually. I'll be honest, it doesn't really matter the club. I think the experience is important. I think it's worth taking a punt, but if it was me personally, I'd avoid them. But I do get the point behind that though. Like, I think Norwich are just pointless altogether. Like, giving them any players it's a failure in a nutshell. But I don't know. Like, experience is experience. I don't think you can cut that shit. It doesn't matter what club you are. I don't think you can. So I think you still got to put up with it. If they're going to give you game time, then you go there personally. But it's a wasted option in Norwich anyway.
Then look at what they did to Billy Gilmore. That was a complete waste of time.
They've ruined him. Yeah, they've ruined him.
100%.
Moving on to the Brentford City FC Stadium, where Brentford beat West Ham 2-0. Brentford beating another London side, obviously this time on home. Denton West Ham's probably already doubtful Champions League hopes now. They're currently set sixth in the league. Nathan, Brentford, first of all, Brentford are safe. We can pretty much clarify that. All talk relegation is over now. They've, to beat West Ham and to beat Chelsea in these two manners are very good. But do you think there's a slight bit of fortune? One, they played Chelsea out of an international break where most of their players retired. And then they came up against a West Ham side who has a very small squad and played a very intense Champions League game. So do you think Brentford are that good, or do you think there's a slight bit of fortune that they've obviously played these teams at the right time?
I don't know, because when you come to that Chelsea game, you've got to look at Brentford as well, because they've had a lot of players coming back from internationals too. Christoph Ayer, Jorgensen, and Buemo. Christian Erickson is another one who played the whole game as well. I mean, you've got to look at it both ways, really. And they're both in the same situation. I just thought Brentford was superb. And coming back now, they've really regrouped, allowed the players to come back from, because they did have those massive injury issues back in December to January as well. But coming back now from the international break, getting all the pieces to click together, which, what's his name? Thomas Frank has seemed to have done really well, got the system in. And yeah, they were back to where they were at the start of the season. As for West Ham, they did throw out their best side, of course, but I think they did. It was sort of like a Burnley Norwich. They did give a little bit too much respect to Brentford, as in they didn't go out and smash the victory. They just thought they could cruise to it. When then again, if you look at the stats, 5 shots the whole game, 1 shot on target for West Ham. Brentford had 15 shots, completely overrun them, completely with the correct football. Absolutely superb for Brentford on the counter-attack as well. But yeah, for me, West Ham, they're pretty much safe at the top of the table, and you can see what they're doing with putting all their eggs in one basket with Europa League and trying to see if they can win that at all. But yeah, I mean, West Ham are safe. Got to take their chances in the winnable games they can and really get as far as they can in the Europa League.
Reece, we all know how much energy Brentford play with, especially at home. Their intensity, their pressing, and it just seems like West Ham just struggle to match that. Joe Moy can't really make many changes to his team. He's playing the same, at least 9 players, week in, week out in these Europa League fixtures. It's just, it's kind of the whole European run, especially at deep European ones, catching up with West Ham, and it is starting to affect their performances in the league a wee bit.
Yeah, it is starting to reflect. I think the one thing that West Ham haven't done that they really should have done was add depth in January.
Yeah,
it has caught up to them. If they're not going to sign any players, they've still got a decent academy. Like they could have promoted a few players that, like, in a sense, to improve, like, or even compete with. But it's just the manner of the battle. Like their squad itself, it's just not strong enough in certain areas, which is reflected. And I agree with Nathan. Like they're focused on Lyon, and to be fair, rightly so. Like rightly so, that game is winnable. Like they can beat Lyon if they wanted to. Like they just need to turn up. But then again, Lyon are nowhere near the Champions League places. Lyon are like mid-table in the French league.
No European football from next year.
Yeah, there's more riding on Lyon than there is West Ham. I think that pressure might actually benefit West Ham, because West Ham are at the moment still guaranteed to at least qualify for Europe from their league position, whereas Lyon are going to need to do more. But we'll see. Like West Ham, like the league for them, like there's no point in them focusing on the league right now. Like there's no point. Stick to Europa.
George, very quickly jumping to the King Power Stadium. Brendan, talking about focusing on European games, Brendan Rodgers' eyes were on the second leg in PSV. He made 7 changes to his side. But also Crystal Palace supposedly probably were keeping themselves fit and trying to avoid injury ahead of their massive semi-final at the weekend. This was 2 teams, one rotated, one didn't, but both of their minds are focused on a European game and a semi-final FA Cup fixture. So do you think this result really probably didn't mean much to either club, because both clubs really aren't going to get Europe, and are both focused on other games? So do you think Crystal Palace's performance reflected that all our matches are focused on that FA Cup game on Sunday?
The only thing I would say is, I know obviously Ant was on this channel yesterday in the aftermath of the Liverpool City match, and he obviously Leicester do have a couple of games in hand, and he was saying that he does think that Leicester can somehow can sort of break into that top 8 and try and get a European place through the league. So there is still an opportunity, and obviously United, I mean, we're going to get onto them eventually. I know we're doing this in this different order, but we're in absolute free fall. So where we could finish could be like 12th or something if other teams actually won that amount of matches. But so I think I don't necessarily think it's too dead and buried for Leicester, because like I said, obviously they do have those couple of games in hand, and if they can gain some points, and obviously with other clubs in that sort of the sort of latter places of the top 8 sort of struggling for form, they could maybe sort of creep in there. So it was more of an important victory for Leicester. Obviously they got that victory. Some amazing goals obviously for Leicester, but for me the sort of funniest the funniest point of the entire match was obviously Zaha's penalty. Obviously, first of all, I'm pretty sure I've seen as well this previously, but it seems like Leicester always seem to be the team that are unfortunate with its encroachment thing. Obviously, for the first time when he missed it, there was sort of retaken again. I'm pretty sure I've seen Leicester have the same thing against. I don't know if it was against Arsenal or someone like that. I've definitely seen that previously. But not only that, obviously, finally, he obviously saves it again, Kasper Schmeichel, and obviously Zaha finishes on the rebound. But then Zaha, despite the fact it's 2-1 and obviously he's still losing, goes off and does a stupid rather than getting the ball. And it's the same as when bloody Dan James did exactly the same thing for us against, which team was it? I can't even remember. Was it Watford or something? Some team that we were 2-1
Anybody
down.
does all the time.
Yeah, it was just unbelievable, and just shocking from Zaha again. I'm not quite sure what he was thinking, but overall, as you said, they have got other sort of priorities. As you've spoken about, particularly Palace. I think they really will be wanting to try and get some silverware. Obviously, Leicester have had recent silverware. far more than even my own team, United, have had recent silverware. Obviously, League, FA Cup, and things of that nature. So yeah, as I said, I think it's slightly more important for Palace overall. But yeah. Good match, and as I said, it was just the most incredulous thing for me was just watching Zaha go off and do celebrate for ages, even though they were losing still.
I do just want to echo thoughts. I do think Dewsbury Hall was really good that game. I do like Dewsbury Hall a lot. I think he's an exceptional grown player, and he's improving. I do like him. I wouldn't mind him at Chelsea as a backup midfielder. Reece, very quickly, Brendan Rodgers, he was under a lot of pressure. A few months ago, he seems like he's turned things around, and he seems like he's got Leicester, on track in a good European run that could maybe sneak into maybe a European Conference League spot, maybe a Europa League spot if other teams above him don't get the right results. But he's turned things around, and he's probably proven that he is still a good coach.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't watch the game, so I can't comment.
Well, you don't have to watch the game. A win's a win. So
I think he's a decent coach. I think if he's been able to turn it around after such a ridiculous spell, then fair play to him. like fair play to him on that. But other than that, like I don't really know. I barely watched Leicester play this year, so I can't really comment. I've only watched them play against United. That's it. I've not watched hardly any of their games, so I can't comment.
Talking about Manchester United, let's go. Let's go to Goodison
Here we
Park.
go.
Let's go to Goodison Park, where Everton did beat Manchester United 1-0. An Anthony Gordon deflected shot going past Everton to give Everton away against hopeless and gutless Manchester United. George, I know obviously after a game you're in the moment, you're heated. There's one thing that you said. There is one thing you said in our Twitter chat that made me. I do want to ask you: do you really think Manchester United players have now just given up?
100%, yeah. I think it's been on the cards for quite some time. I think we obviously had the leaks as well, which I sort of spoke about in the chat prior to this show. I think we've had those leaks that the players are not listening to Rangnick any longer. I think they'll use any excuse. This is very reminiscent to me and similar to when Ollie got the sack as well, when there were a few matches there, obviously against City, Liverpool, Leicester, and obviously finally against Watford when he finally did get the sack, where the players just didn't care whatsoever, just literally had down tools entirely. And with all due respect, obviously, to Everton are obviously in a similar sort of situation to how Watford were when we obviously, they again were, all but doomed, couldn't get any points at that point, and obviously beat us 4-1 in a match again that we should definitely
just on a short note, that was their last home win in the league as well.
Exactly. That's the other thing is that obviously Watford have actually got a positive head-to-head record against us this season, because obviously they got the 4-1 victory and then obviously the 0-0 at which again, actually I don't want to go on. That's another rant on that one as well. How we managed to do.
Let's not go there.
Yeah. But ultimately, yeah, as I said, the players just completely had down tools. They didn't really care. They were going through the motions. It's very easy, I think, to watch United and see that they don't care, and also almost see that they're deliberately maintaining this facade of pretending to try and pretending to care, but actually they don't. Their heart's not in it at all. And that entire second half, especially, you could just see all the passes were just like routine, slow, steady, not taking any risks, not taking any chances. I mean, ultimately, Pickford, although he did have a relatively good game in terms of his sort of when he was claiming balls, he had very little to do. Obviously, there was all the shots that we had were right at him pretty much. I thought the Rashford attempts, obviously in the first half, it's when you see them, it's quite difficult to ascertain. So you think he's made some magnificent saves, but actually Rashford's bloody hit it. Any sort of like any movement away from him, and it's going in the goal, and he hits it straight at him. So which is typical of Rashford's season, really. But ultimately, I was extremely angry as usual. I mean, not surprised, obviously, because my prediction prior to it was a 1-1 draw, because that seems to be our sort of favourite score. But we couldn't even score against Everton, which is a disgrace again, given how week in, week out on this podcast, we've discussed how shit Everton's defence is. We somehow managed to let them keep a clean sheet. So, yeah, really poor result. Again, obviously compounded by the fact, of what happened with other top four rivals, because I think top four were genuinely, even at this juncture, is still open. But obviously the fact is United have somehow managed to draw and lose in the last couple of matches when we should really have beaten both of them, and obviously it's a completely different story. So yeah, it's really annoyed me, as you can probably tell yet again. But long may hopefully this season's over as quickly as possible, and hopefully if we're not going to get Champions League football, hopefully we finish 8th so that we avoid Europe whatsoever.
Hello, Talk. Hope you're doing very well. Just for anybody who's curious, to put it in a play term, the first thing George said when the full-time whistle was blue was "see you next Tuesday." That's literally all. So I think that's every Manchester United as well. Probably see a reset on it. Reece, obviously you're a massive Ralph Rangnick fan. I think it's safe to say the interim side of things hasn't worked for him, but when you look at the egos that are in that dressing room of Manchester United, they probably just looked at it. There was some interim manager coming in. They don't probably care. He's not going to be here next season. And there probably was an aspect of that. And also, you look at the January transfer window. You saw Martial, the Greenwood situation had Cavani hasn't bothered his ass to play. He's basically had no one on the bench to make the game. Look at the players he brought in there against Everton. Matic was, can barely play 45 minutes. Alex Telles is an absolute defensive atrocious mess. Diego Dallo is just not it. Fred had to go off injured. Yes, it hasn't worked out for Randrick, and the players probably haven't listened to him. But any manager who was given this squad with the situation that they're in, no manager would succeed with that.
Honest to God, till the end of the season, I would play the youth team. I honestly don't care. Like, you're afraid to call them, I'll say it. They're just a bunch of cunts. Like, literally. They're a bunch of cunts, man. Like, I hate going in on this team, but like, James has called them the worst United team he's ever seen since he's been an Everton fan. Me being a United fan for 20 plus years, he's fucking right. Like, you can have all the technical ability in the world, but when you've got like no hunger or work rate to do your job at a professional level, then you shouldn't be in the job at all. Like, it really is awful that a professional footballer just doesn't care about their job. If you've got no interest in being a professional footballer, if like you get paid X amount of money a week, then just go to hell. Like, generally, just get out of my club. Because if that's your attitude, then just fuck off.
Right, Yanni boy, the best German manager in the league. Come on, man, Jesus, come on. Like, you don't get. I love, come on, Tuchel, Klopp, Hasenhüttl. I know Hasenhüttl in German.
He's Austrian.
I know he's not German, but he's got a German. He pretty much plays the German way. So I would just say
he's not German. You got to be specific. He's Austrian.
Yeah, but he plays the German style. He's been in the German league for ages. I don't care. He plays the German way. He doesn't play the Australian.
That's like being French. That's like saying you're French, but you play the Spanish style of football, so you're automatically Spanish. No,
but
he's Austrian. Like, end of the day, like, he's a very smart football man. These players are generally, it doesn't matter who you are in football right now, like with this club, like, it doesn't really matter who you are, like, you are doomed. You've got, unless you get like full total control and make decisions that need to be done, then you are in trouble, because the ego, it's not just egos at this club, it's the player power, it's George is saying the down tooling. There's so many things wrong with this squad that really does need to be dealt with, and I generally don't know who's going to do that. Could Ten Hag do it? I hope so, but I generally don't know what to expect in the summer. I generally don't know. Like, Yeti Boys laugh. Like, Yeti Boys comment about looking forward to seeing us compete for the title next year. We'll be fighting for fourth, let alone fighting for a Europa League place, like the way this squad is right now. I generally don't see anything coming from it. And the performance at the weekend was just unacceptable. Like, I said it to Doug and Carl on Saturday. Lads, it's only Saturday. Like, literally, that's just like, I forgot that it was Saturday. Like, that's how bad that game was. Like, Everton deserved to win in the end. They deserved to win, but United just didn't bother. Like, they were already thinking about the summer holidays. Professional football wise, it's just unacceptable. Like, it doesn't matter what club you are. Like, there's professionalism, they don't have it.
Just Freeze, is there any truth Randrick has taken the Australian international job?
It was a director of football job from Austria, but I don't think there was anything by it. Well, he's saying there's not anything by it. To be honest, I don't really know. So, but we'll see. But
would you not think do you not think given Ralph Randrick is going to be the sporting director, the players would want to play and show him that they should still be at the football club? Even though he's the interim manager, he's still going to be a big part in their decisions and contracts and stuff. But I suppose that's the thing about Manchester United. Obviously, that Ralph, it does look like Ten Hag's going to be the manager, but if Ten Hag isn't given the tools and the backing, it's just probably going to end up in. I think it was George. He said last week, Darren Fletcher's probably going to end up as interim manager. They're looking to give long-term contracts now to Rashford, Shaw, and Maguire. That's Bruno Fernandes already got one too. That one I think's reasonably understandable. You can build a team around him. You can't build a team around Rashford. You can't build a team around Maguire. You certainly can't build a team around Luke Shaw. I don't know if anybody. The three of them are local and they're getting long-term contracts. They should all be on like the list to be sold in the summer. The final call I'm going to make before we move on is I don't know how many people watch TikTok on here. Probably I'm the only one, but I remember there's a specific TikTok I seen. And it's this guy. He uploads Harry Maguire failures, right? And he's got his high pitch, like Harry Maguire. And I remember there was this handball, It was a handball. It was a handball from Matic, and he got Harry Maguire called for a handball against his own player, and handball against Harry Maguire's called for a handball.
I know you were bringing that one. I don't know what team he's on, but he's clearly not playing for United. Like, if that's his decision, first his stupid ass stomach is in the road, so that's his problem. You can't build a team around shite. So like Maguire needs fucked off. Like, but the fact is, he is in the road, deflects into his own net, blames everybody else. Like, I agree with Rangnick and De Gea's comments, like Rangnick's comments specifically last week when he said all these players should be sold. I've got no disagreement with that at all. I would play under 23s to the end of the season.
Here's a question for you, Reece. Who would you rather at centre back, Harry Maguire or Aidan Flint?
I don't really know much about Aidan Flint, so I can't really comment. I don't watch a lot of Cardiff, mate.
Oh, George, what do you reckon after that game last
But
week?
in all fairness, though, I would rather have a cardboard box than Harry Maguire.
I think if you ever have to manage a team where it's almost your sort of personal hell, I think those two would make the ideal centre back partnership.
I think the trifecta is Tyrone Mings.
Yeah.
Oh, like imagine those three in a back five.
You could add Michael Keane there and play him as a position.
Anyway, let's move on. Let's all now laugh at Arsenal. Arsenal lose to Brighton 2-1 at the Emirates. Brighton's first win in 7 games. Also, the first time they scored 2 goals in 10. So they went to the Emirates and rightly won this game. Arsenal, I think, have 3 losses in a row now for Arsenal, if my mind is correct. George, Arsenal looked like they were fighting for a top 4 fight. Their hopes have now been dimmed, but this is the most Arsenal thing ever. Brighton, who've been in shambolic form, like they couldn't score, they couldn't defend, they lost 7 in a row, and then they go to the Emirates and now play Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, this is what's, for again, sort of from a United fan perspective, that's what's so annoying, is because only a few weeks ago, everyone was sort of saying Arsenal, because they had all those games in hand as well. Arsenal have got this top 4 in the bag, and all that time.
I still think it's Tottenham.
Yeah, I think ultimately we're going to get out to them, and I think it is Tottenham as well, because they always had the easiest run in, and now obviously they've got Son in ridiculous form. But anyway, back to Arsenal. Yeah, obviously they did have this. They were in the driving seat, as we know, only a few weeks ago. But as you said, a couple of losses in a row. And ultimately, again, the defending was absolutely shocking. Obviously, that Trossard goal, unbelievable. That all the Arsenal defenders raced back, and then Trossard just left by himself. And it's almost like everybody's, doing that mannequin challenge as Trossard runs onto the ball, smashes it, and then he even has the temerity to do the old. I don't know if he was like saying to the Arsenal players all needed glasses because they'd all left him alone. They couldn't see him, but it was just it was just prime banter. But I mean, ultimately, I can't laugh too loudly because obviously Arsenal are still ahead of us. But this is such a massive opportunity they've missed out on. I think they did invest. We all know they invested very heavily in the summer. They were the team that had the greatest expenditure of any club in the Premier League in the summer, and obviously they had no Europe the entire season as well. So they've had the league to concentrate on, and altogether, I think Arteta's done a good job. But sadly, they've run out of steam at the crucial moment, and now it's very much in Spurs' hands now. But again, Spurs, we all know. We all know what Spurs are like typically.
They still get to play each other, don't they?
Yeah,
Arsenal, Spurs.
But I think it's at Spurs, so I think as you said, it's still up for grabs for Arsenal, but they've got to turn things around pretty sharpish to try and gain top 4. And ultimately, I think they might rue some of these poor results in games that they should have won if they were really looking to get top 4. But good result for Brighton, but ultimately, a game for them, which probably doesn't mean too much. Arsenal's top 4 hopes very much dented.
Let's move on to St Mary's Feast. Chelsea hammer Southampton 6-0. Southampton do typically seem to have an annual hammering. It wasn't a 9-0 this time, it was only the 6, but it seems like Southampton do have these performances in them, but where they do just get completely smacked. Though Chelsea's reaction was from the last 2 games obviously was apparent. It seems like Thomas Tuchel went around, gave them one of a Neil Mullock, slapping into the chest room after that Real Madrid game. From Timo Werner was high enough the game. He hit the bar, he hit the crossbar, he hit the other bar, he missed the sitter, but still got 2 goals and assist. It's good to see Werner do well, but Chelsea, when Chelsea played at this level, I think it was always going to be difficult for Southampton to, match them, especially when Southampton, as James has said, probably are on the beach and they've probably got nothing to play for these last 7 games.
Yeah, I think that's completely spot on. I mean, I think when Chelsea are actively on it, like, they can cause a lot of problems, and like Werner, Mount, like, very impressive. I'm starting to see flaws in Kante's game, though. Like, this is a funny thing. It was a comment, like, I'm hearing this a lot by Chelsea fans, but I don't know what you think. There's a lot of Chelsea fans saying that Kante is, like, close to finished. I don't think he is, but I think he is having... I think the lack of consistency in his game at the moment is reflecting in performances, but I've never seen him get subbed off at half-time in a Champions League match before. But I will say, though, like, irrespective to that, though, like, just the sheer dominance of your attacking players, especially against Southampton, like, it doesn't matter the opponent, if it's Southampton or Arsenal or hell, even if it was Man City done that too, which is unlikely, but if in the case of it did, any opportunity you get, you've got to take it. And by contrast, the amount of chances that Werner still missed, it could have finished 8, 9, 10-0 to Chelsea. Like, it's not just him, there was other players that missed chances, but they were some glorious chances, but at least he still scored twice. I bet a lot of Chelsea fans didn't like that, having to celebrate a Werner goal, so I can laugh at them. But still, dominant performance by Chelsea, and they're going to take that into the Champions League games against Real Madrid. I don't think it's enough, personally. I think the tie is still in Real Madrid's favour, but if you come out flying like you did against Southampton, a couple of early goals against Madrid in the Champions League, you could cause them some problems.
I think Southampton were poor in the day, but I think Chelsea going 2-0 up really early in the game just completely killed everything Southampton had. And I do want to ask you, as I said, Hasenhuttl plays a really open style, and I don't really think Southampton had much of a game plan against Chelsea. But the one thing I did notice about Werner is that, against a high line, against an open team, Timo Werner is absolutely lethal. He can dance around defenders. He gets into the right areas. Does this maybe show Werner, if it's a loan deal, if it's a permanent move in the summer, is probably better going back to the Bundesliga? Because clearly in the Bundesliga, you're up against more open attacking teams, and maybe the Bundesliga probably is more suited for him because he doesn't really have the physical side to him like you need in the Premier League.
I think for some players, like, there's some players that can adapt to the Premier League, like transition from the Bundesliga, and there's some players that they're taking time. I don't think, as much as I like Timo Werner, I've always been consistent that I do like him as a player. He hasn't adapted to the league, whether it be because Frank Lampard ruined him, which I still believe, but also like injury time since then, like position-wise, whether it be on the left or whether it be through the middle, he just hasn't adapted. But against a high-line defence, he is the perfect striker for it because he doesn't just have the pace, he's got the link-up play and he's got the finishing to deal with it. Just against other teams, he just hasn't shown that ability. He is a good player. It hasn't shown enough in terms of output. But he has been decisive for you in games where you really need him, like the Champions League last year. He was, like, that goal did help for you guys getting to the final. But I do agree. I do think he needs moved on. You do need to replace him.
Maybe he just doesn't have the physical attributes for a Premier League striker, which is
I think it's too much. Which is normal. Yeah, which is completely normal and acceptable. And you could easily replace him. You've got the options to do it.
But his first goal when he went around 2 Southampton players and took the ball around Fraser Foster and tucked it in. That's the type of goals he can score. But I just said you don't get that chances in the Premier League. I think Southampton went out there to very oblivious and just kind of let Chelsea kind of run rampant around them. Nathan, I do want to ask you this about Chelsea. I know you don't like Chelsea. I know because we're pretty much the reason why you got relegated. So
and for all the stuff over the years as well between the clubs.
Chelsea, there's obviously a lot of question marks over the ownership, and the ownership thing's not going to be solved for a good while yet. But if Thomas Tuchel is backed and Chelsea buy the right players, if they either sort the Lukaku situation or to buy better attacking players, Chelsea are not massively far behind Manchester City and Liverpool in terms of Thomas Tuchel. No, but let me finish the question. Thomas Tuchel's got this team. He's got a plan. If he can get better attackers in or make the attack more consistent, along with the defense that is normally rock solid, I'm not saying they're going to win the Champions League, but Chelsea can most certainly close the gap on the top two.
I disagree, if I'm honest. Yes, you do have like the reinforcements in there, but your defense, Rudiger,
That's it.
Rudiger or Van Dijk.
Well, that's harsh.
I
Well,
think
that's
both-
harsh.
I think
Rudiger's been the best centre back in the league this year.
I think both
That's
of them
something
have
up
been
there.
very consistent this year. Oh yeah,
I really
George-
But just look at elsewhere at the side as well. The depth for me isn't there either. I think, yes, the system works for Chelsea, but it could be used differently as well. I mean, doing the fight, what did you play? 5-2-1-2 the other day?
3-4-2-1.
Or 3-4-2-1, whatever it is. I'm just used to saying 5 at the back nowadays for obvious reasons. But
5 centre backs.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's difficult for me. What Chelsea's missing is a world-class midfielder, sort of like your Kevin De Bruyne's or something like that, like you do at your Man Cities. That really, really good winger, for example, like your Salahs, your Manes, get that in as well. Yes, Kai Havertz will develop over time if you use him right, of course, but it's that striker at the end of the day, the one who's going to get you all of the goals. But then again, strikers are cursed at Chelsea, aren't they? But it is difficult, and I'm sorry, you need to replace Alonso. That's all I'll say there. And apart from that,
I've said that.
you're
for
still a
Funny is,
million
I
far
don't
behind.
think- The funny thing is, I don't think Chelsea need a striker. I think Chelsea and United are the exact same situation where the best style for right now for a front man is not a striker, it's a centre forward. Play
Which Kai
somebody in that
Havertz is.
position.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Play an attacking midfielder in that centre forward position, unless it's somebody who knows how to play that position. Because I don't think you need an out-and-out number 9 in the Premier League anymore. I think it's going out of date. Just like goalkeepers with poor distribution are now officially out of date. You play out from the back of a goalkeeper. Distributor. Yeah, well, it could have been worse for him at the weekend, but what can I say, really? He wasn't exactly the worst goalkeeper at the weekend. But all in all, my point is, I don't think Chelsea need a number 9. I don't think United need a number 9. I think realistically they could play with a number 10 playing in that position. All they need is just to have 2 very good wingers to start, and then 2 wingers in backup, and just flood that way. I don't think you need a striker anymore. Chelsea's problem is Chelsea have the front 3 right there. Havertz through the middle, Pulisic on the left wing. If you've got a brain, use him properly, because he doesn't even know how to do it himself. And you put Ziyech on the right-hand side. You don't need Mason Mount. He's shit. Just saying, even though he scored twice at the weekend. You can do better. And another thing as well, you need to get rid of that fucking, that Loftus Cheek. He needs to go as well. He's crap. There's just no need for a number. You don't need a number 9. You need to play Havertz through the middle.
I
improve on
remember.
that midfield.
I remember watching that. I remember looking back at that game. I remember early on, Rudiger trying to pass back to Mendy, had 4 quarter. And I was thinking, it's gonna be a long game. But then we went to 6-0. Yeah, fair play to Thomas Tuchel. I think Tuchel's team. I think in previous times, Frank Lampard, Maurizio Sarri, they struggled to get reactions out of the Chelsea teams in the past. But Thomas Tuchel just seems to be able to get reactions out of this team, and whatever resilience he's got going on, it really, really shows. So very quickly, George, before we get on to the big game between the top 2, we will talk about Leeds once Carl joins us. It was Aston Villa 0, Spurs 4. It did not really feel like a 4-0 win, because Aston Villa were really good in this game. They were competitive. They probably should have went into the break at least level. But I think Aston Villa maybe went too attacking too quickly, because the amount of space that Son and Harry Kane were getting to link up, it was a headed on ball, Son was in, and that was it over. Aston Villa play well, but they definitely started to maybe play a bit careless. And whenever you play open to that Spurs team, especially an exceptionally good counter-attacking team and what Antonio Conte can do, it seems like Aston Villa did kind of just play into Spurs' hand as the game went on.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, as you know, as you know yourself, midweek when you're playing against certain players who are in brilliant form, the one thing you don't need, sometimes they can just absolutely decimate you. And that's obviously the case with Heung-min Son, who's been in sensational form. ultimately, I think Harry Kane sort of turned up again. I think there was a long part of this season where he was almost sort of, again, only Kane, potentially will know this, but it seemed as though he was sort of aggrieved about missing out on that transfer last summer. And it did seem that he was rather lackluster, but obviously he's really turned it around. Spurs are sort of free scoring. I think that front three have probably scored the most goals, I think, since February or something along those lines. I was reading. So he's got them scoring when obviously goals win matches in a very Michael Owen sort of saying. And ultimately, Spurs are now the favourites for the top four. But yeah, that goal you sort of spoke about where Kane just, when they sort of slowed it down and Kane just looks over his shoulder just before the ball even comes to him, just looks over his shoulder to see where Son is and then plants his header exactly where it needs to go was just, admittedly absolutely outstanding. And Son is just, he's such a crisp finisher. That's the thing about Son. He's just, every single time he just follows through and he's so good off both feet. And I really, albeit I obviously had at least a couple of play acting incidents over the past year, but I do really like Son. It's just a shame he's decided to commit his long-term future to Spurs because although he's a sensational player, it's unlikely he's going to get the silverware, which his play deserves. Obviously playing for Spurs. Yeah. It's just a shame for him, I think, for his career overall. But good win for Spurs, and ultimately Aston Villa. I mean, obviously, I know that again. This is just come back again to what was spoken about in the post-match yesterday of the Liverpool City match. Was that obviously Villa have got City, I think, on the final day of the season. So a lot of Liverpool fans are now hoping that Gerrard and Coutinho will do them a favour in that match. But games like this make you think. Again, I suspect Gerrard's going to have a special plan for that because. He doesn't want to get picked off as easily as Spurs did, and City are even, if anything, even more ruthless. Obviously, in terms of creating overall chances. So, disappointing for Villa, but a brilliant result for Spurs, and they're in the driving seat for top four.
Reese, just to actually before I come to Reese, we have got Carl has arrived. Hello, Carl. Welcome to the World of Football Podcast. Good to see you, my friend. Again, how you doing?
I'm doing quite well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me on again. It's been a while since I last came on here when I talked about the saddening of walk of Marcel Bielsa leaving Leeds United, and we didn't know what was going to happen. It was a bit of a cloud fogging, man. But I think since then, it's been different results, which has been interesting under Jesse March. I think we've been more tight at the back, and I gotta say, myself and Reese met for the first time on Saturday. We went to watch Livingston. After me, it was a cracker game. The one thing that Reese was surprised about after the game was he found out when we went to the car parking at the outlet. He was surprised I have a Jaguar. I'm like, you would have a Jaguar? I said, yes. What do you expect? You think me being an analyst was getting a Jag? So yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming, Carl. We will come to Leeds. We were doing for the talk.
I knew he was going to bring that up.
So we will come to that. We will absolutely come to that. Teresa, I want to ask you a quick question about Steven Gerrard. Steven Gerrard's reign at Aston Villa has been mixed. He's definitely got defensive issues, and at times at Rangers, defensively, Rangers were very suspect, and we're kind of seeing very similar legs here at Aston Villa. He probably doesn't know his best team. He's trying to fit players into positions they don't really play. To play this 4-3-3 that he's absolutely adamant that he's going to play. Do you think this is a case of him first year in the Premier League, walking in mid-season, trying to get things going? Or do you think maybe there's a slight issue with him and Aston Villa just not working out?
It's a good question with that one because it's interesting because I know he's trying to find his feet and he's trying to see what players fit in his style what he had at Rangers. And it seems that some players don't fit that mold. You look at Tyrone Mings, Enzo Konza, and even Danny Ings, they don't fit the model that Jerry wants to play. And even you could put Beretta in it as well too. And I think there's going to be a lot of changes coming at Villa this summer. I think they will do. I think, like I said, the players that will be want to leave Rangers, such as Ryan Kent, I think it will somehow.
I hope fucking so.
Yeah, I think Ryan Kent will leave, and a few others as well will join Gerrard. It won't be surprised some Rangers players will join him, and Bill will spend a big amounts of money again.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with that. I agree. I think I think it is working. The only difference is he is trying to shoehorn players, and he's trying to shoehorn players like Coutinho. Like, Coutinho's pointless. Like, he's done nothing for them, like, at all. He's only scored like one important goal, and it really pissed me off. But he's not done anything significant for them. I don't think Danny Ings has worked for Villa. I think he needs replaced. I think Watkins is suffering because of this. I don't know what the hell he's doing trying to keep Sanson involved. I think he's shit. Douglas Luiz is faltering. I think John McGinn's probably his only consistent player. Konza's a decent player. Martinez in goal. He's all right. It's just the fullbacks as well. I'm not overly convinced by the fullbacks. I don't think they play the way he wants, and he needs to get that change somewhere. I agree with Carl. There's going to be changes. But some of those players generally aren't going to fit for him. And if he really wants to get the best out of this Villa team, he needs to stop shoehorning and just put players in their proper positions. And yeah, I agree with that, except the true word is a greedy cunt. So
yeah.
Moving on to Leeds, Carl. So obviously, you said last time you were on the show was just after Marcelo Bielsa lost his job. Jesse March came in. Obviously, you lost 1-0 to Leicester, but you played very well that game. Then you 3-0 to Leicester. And you're at home, you're thinking, this is not looking good. But since then, a 2-1 win over Norwich, that exceptional game at Molineux against Wolves, and you're clawed back to win that game. A decent draw against Southampton, then you go to Watford, and you pretty much outplay them. It seems like Jesse March, even though I know Reece absolutely hates him from his Leipzig spell, it seems like Jesse March has definitely got Leeds more defensively solid, still playing really good attacking football, and I think it's safe to say you're probably safe now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was questions about what happened when he was at Leipzig, pretty much. It was really tough. We did not expect, but we did expect it was going to be similar style. But I think we will know we were not going to be too gung-ho like we was under Bielsa, and I think that's what changed. I think getting Phillips and Cooper back has been vital for us, and we know, that win against Watford was huge. It was our first clean sheet since November against Crystal Palace. That's our third clean sheet we've had this season, and it surprised me is how poor we have been behind the back. But I think you've seen players like Rodrigo rediscover his form. Rafinha had a bit of a dip, came back in it as well. Dan James still working socks up front. He's that false nine. It's been a difference of the man mark is gone. We're a bit more pressing now. We saw Click and Koch play very well and link it up with Cooper and Llorente to keep the Watford players opposition really pressed hard. They were struggling, Watford. They couldn't have any decent chances against us. So if you told me that from 5 games ago that we were going to try and get good 3 wins and 1 draw and then 1 loss, I would have taken that completely. So, but like I say, if we still had Bielsa, we would have lost 5 games on the trot.
Thank you very much, James. Good to see you. Hope you have a fantastic week, and see you again very, very soon. I think Leeds. I think it was always the case with Leeds was that Leeds had the squad. They should not be down at that bottom. They should at least be in the mid-table. I think Marcelo Bielsa was just found out. He was too open and he just wasn't adapting. Jesse March came in and he's kept the attacking side just with a better defensive system. He's stitched a man-to-man defensive system, which you just cannot do in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And it just seems, as you say, I think Cooper and Phillips coming back is also huge. That's big leadership, big focal points, especially in the defensive side. So I think it's good to see. It's good to see Leeds are staying up, and at least now you can enjoy the remainder of the season pretty much, unless you really do.
Yeah, absolutely. And the problem is, I think the players did fall out with Bielsa. I think that did happen because he was just too stubborn to change. I think there was a bit, you could see the body language from the players that were not happy, and I think that's why they needed a change as well. So you're seeing that now change on Jesse March, who's had to learn the last few weeks while coming in. Now we have a decent gap now because we're not playing against Tuchel Spurs on the 25th of April. So he's got more time to more coach with the players as he got for the next week or 2.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the big 2 game. This is what I've been seeing for Manchester City 2. Liverpool 2. A deflected shot, I think, from Kevin De Bruyne in the opening early minutes gives City the lead, and then George's favourite player scored to make it one each. Manchester City then took the lead to make it 2-1, and Sadio Mane equalised, and right off at the start of the second half to make it 2 each. Was the result ending 2 each? Nathan, this was one hell of a game. Probably not what Liverpool wanted, because it does leave the fate in Manchester City's hands, who are absolutely capable of winning all the remaining games. And I think their running's a bit more generous to them
it's
than
quite
what
good,
Liverpool would like.
actually.
This was a great game for the neutrals. It was exactly what we wanted. But if you're Man City, you're probably slightly annoyed you didn't win this, because you missed a lot of good opportunities. And some of Liverpool's defending, especially in that first half, and the way they were trying to use the ball was, they were playing in the City's hands. And then City kind of gave away 2 cheap goals. How do you sum up that absolutely exceptional game of football that we watched on Sunday?
Yeah, it was probably a fair result having a draw in the end, but I did think Man City was slightly the better team to come out of it. Liverpool, considering their recent form, I don't know why they didn't show what they had been doing for the last 12, 13 games in that one. And as Keane's saying as well, or however you say your name, sorry, pal. But yeah, Liverpool were just not good enough in the first half, giving Man City everything. Pep, with his superb tactics, read them like an absolute book. And yeah, Desmond's coming up towards just after half time as well. And yeah, I mean, these are the games that Liverpool have to be getting results out of if they want to get these Premier League titles. And if I'm honest now, Man City, very well capable of winning their remaining games. It's going to be an ask, but quite frankly, I think considering their running, Man City have got it, and Liverpool, if they would have got something out of this, then they would be champions for me. It's just both sides is just going to absolutely floor it, win every game to the end of the season, and it's literally going to be because Man City have the more points that they've won.
Just very quickly, Ian, I know you're from the Republic of Ireland. I'm actually going to be in Dublin for the first time ever next Wednesday. So if you do genuinely, actually, in all seriousness, if you have anywhere you recommend me going, please do put in the chat, because I'm going by myself. I've never been in Dublin before. So
A place with light.
That's a place of light. There's still some light in my room, actually. So do just that's just out of curiosity, because I'm still looking for things to do. George, I'll come to you, George. Obviously, you were talking on our Twitter chat throughout this whole game on Pacific things from Anthony Taylor. You were getting really annoyed at Gabriel Jesus and Trent Alexander-Arnold. I don't know where you would go, but avoid Temple Bar. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. So, George, how do you sum up this game between these two sides? You can find the details of football, so I look forward to hearing your point of view on this.
So I think overall, City did have the better of the game. I think they had, more of the clear-cut chances in that match. I think they would be more disappointed in the way that the game went, and obviously in that final result of it, being a draw. I think City really did miss having a properly clear, at least. Again, obviously, I do agree with what Reece said previously, which is that maybe the striker is slightly dead in the modern Premier League, because obviously City have proven last season, obviously they didn't need a recognised number 9 to win the league. But certainly, obviously, Gabriel Jesus, good finish, obviously at the end of a well-timed run for the second City goal. But ultimately, there were plenty of times where he had those opportunities to square it or create for other players. And he must be an incredibly frustrating player to play with if you're playing for City, because they sort of prize those intellectual, instinctive, in-game decision-making. And that's something that Jesus still lacks compared to other City players who are a lot more intelligent. And obviously that is something that, United players, for example, clearly lack. And that's something you really do notice with Man City, is that, how intelligent they are in terms of all their movements, runs, passes, and so forth. So yeah, they were quite. If I was Pep, that's he was the player that was really selfish on occasions when he shouldn't and couldn't have been. But City were very unlucky. Obviously, Kevin De Bruyne was simply outstanding throughout that entire match. Obviously, quite lucky on that initial goal, but in terms of the deflection that took it away from Alisson. But overall, splendid. Obviously, typified by that, ridiculous pass in the final minutes again from him. So he was just outrageous that entire match. Cancelo as well. What a fullback! Outstanding assist for that Jesus goal.
Best in football.
Liverpool again, obviously with Jota. We're gonna I'll get onto him very slightly here. What I would say is that on this goal, he was exceptionally lucky that Ederson is absolutely shit at stopping, because that's the thing with Jota, is he's got this tendency to just sometimes it's almost that saying of it's better to be lucky than good. I think with Jota, there was one of those things where he hits it straight, and 99 times out of 100 that doesn't go in, but it somehow squirms through. And there was another moment which obviously wasn't talked about in the post match yesterday, which was when Jota was through on goal again, and he just has that moment again with Jota where, and I see it all the time with him again, he's an incredibly frustrating player, because he just has these moments where he doesn't make the right decision, and again he lacks that confidence, and it was so obvious in that specific moment. And again, probably his worst moment again, obviously, was that Wolves game. I don't know if anyone remembers, where he was sort of running towards the goal and trying his best, and he hits it straight at a defender. So, yeah, as I said, I don't really rate Jota. The other Liverpool players superb. To give full credit as well to Van Dijk, I think he just proves again and again what a sensational defender he really is. A moment again with Sterling, where Sterling just sort of Van Dijk just has to stand there, and Sterling just thought to himself, "Oh no, I can't get round," and then dribbled straight into him. So it's just outstanding defender, Van Dijk. But overall, fantastic match, and Mahrez missing a crucial chance at the end. But overall, I think Liverpool would probably be slightly happier with the result, given how the game went, and it now means that any sort of slip up and the title's likely going to either side. So yeah, fantastic game though, and thoroughly enjoyed watching it.
Carl, what's your opinion on the game?
I have to say, Man City should have won that game, but I think this is a good point for Liverpool than it is for City. I think City had so many chances in the first half. Liverpool were not at the best, and people singled out Henderson for that performance in that first half completely. There were a lot of fans I saw singled him out for no apparent reason. Jurgen chose picked his best 11 for that could go against City. I was very surprised. I know you see starting Matip and Van Dijk, but I would have started Kiate, because how he's done well this season. But as I said, Man City had so many chances. It should be 2-3-0 up by half time, and especially when they got the offside goal was ruled out by Sterling, was just offside. I just think like Pep. I think there was so many chances waste for City. Actually, I think Liverpool did turn it out in the second half, a lot more better. I think getting that goal by half time did change Jurgen Klopp's team talk to try to get something out of this game, because it was going to be back and forth between these two teams, but it was an entertaining game generally. But I think Man City have blown a chance to extend that gap to at least 3 points, to 3 points more, because that's going to be the penalty's consideration if they don't win all the games, and Liverpool do win all the games, and then Man City drop points. I think that will be the decider where City should have won that game that would have won them the title this last night.
Richard, if I want to have a word on this game, what's your opinion?
I only seen like 25 minutes, and that 25 minutes proved what I've been saying about Trent Alexander-Arnold for a long time. He is fucking awful.
Thank you.
He's overrated. He doesn't know his position, doesn't know how to defend. He's nowhere near the best fullback in the world, let alone the best fullback in the league. That's Cancelo by a mile. He's not even top 3, because Reece James is better than him.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably another fullback in there. I'm not sure. Maybe Kyle Walker on an actual day when he's not being shit. But Trent's fucking ridiculous. I never want to hear any comparisons to Beckham again, because it's an insult to a very good player.
Yeah,
Beckham, not Trent. That's an insult. But he's fucking useless. But digress. In terms of Liverpool, I thought Kevin De Bruyne maybe have been lucky to stay on the pitch. Thiago should have been sent off. I still find it funny how Liverpool didn't get a corner kick. Although, to be fair, it wouldn't have done anything. It wouldn't have done anything for the game anyway. The fact they didn't have a corner for 75 minutes is actually quite alarming for a Liverpool team. They usually have 5 or 6 beforehand. they didn't have grasp of the game. I think City overall will be very hard done by that performance. Like, in terms of, like, they should have like 3 or 4 goals ahead. Like, but one thing that Liverpool did keep doing was they kept applying the pressure on City. City couldn't cope with that pressure, and once Liverpool pulled them back to 2-2, it just didn't seem like there was going to be a winner. Like, it just seemed like we're just going to try and like dominate possession. The last 25 minutes, there wasn't very much in it from what I watched. I watched the highlights back, and yeah, from what everyone's saying, it was a good game, but people try to convince me all the time that Trent Alexander-Arnold's a good player. You've got more luck in me drinking than that. Like, put it that way. Like,
no, the best thing is that these two teams will also meet again on Saturday in the FA Cup semi-final. But why is this game at half free? Why is this game at half free? Would it not be better later on in the day when, you know, fans are back from watching their teams in the Premier League? Is there any? I don't remember an FA Cup.
I think. Well, that's the problem, because I think the FA knew from 2 years ago about the fans had to go down earlier, because if they had to get teams from the northwest, from the north, they'll have to travel down to London, but they knew there was engineering works going on. So I don't know why they decided to put this at half free, because it is a bit ridiculous. But that's going to cause traffic problems, logistic problems if you're going back up north. So I don't get that the decision. I think the FA, you know, well, they could have moved it to Old Trafford or Villa Park. It was still there on the cards, but because we're still paying the stadium off, as the English FA keeps saying, it's a bit of a piss take. But they knew that they should have worked with all the organizations in this scenario of that. Or if the top teams going from the north who are going into the semi-finals should not be playing at Wembley. But
well, for example, Nathan, are you going to the Cardiff City game this weekend? I don't know who you got, so.
We're playing Hull away. I'm not actually. I'm actually going up to Birmingham on that day, so I'm not able to go to Hull this weekend.
Well, so you can't watch it because you're busy. George, you're going to be watching United Norwich. Can help you. Reese, I don't know what you'll be doing. I don't know how many games are on at this time, but you know, you'll probably be watching Manchester United too. I'll be watching Glenavon.
I'll be watching the United game.
Yeah, I'll be watching Glenavon. So where's the logic in playing these two amazing teams at half free on a Saturday when everybody's going to be watching their own team? I just don't. I disagree with that decision. But
it'll be a good game though. It'll be.
I think it's because there's no other time that they can do it really. Do it too late, there's going to be no trains back. Do it too early, like when we played Liverpool earlier in the season, no trains going up. If you look at it, half free is the only choice.
Why can't you do what our public transport does and make Pacific trains for those times on those days? Like,
because that costs money, Josh.
And this is also English Railways.
Exactly. Yeah. British Railways is not the best, especially the English ones. Yeah,
no, you need to come to Wales, Carl. It is absolutely shambolic. 1 train an hour finishes at 10 o'clock.
So I've heard. Yeah, terrible. It's like that in Yorkshire as well. 1 train an hour, these slow-hour trains. I know. So I know the difference. I grew up near the railway line, so I know the difference.
I said I'll be at the Glenavon game, so I'll not see a single minute of this game, which is disappointing. I'll definitely watch it back, but it should be a fairly enjoying game for anybody who decides to watch it. So poor George, if you have to watch Man United, probably struggle against Norwich and Old Trafford rather than watching those two exciting teams. But anyway, we'll move on very quickly to Nathan's team. Cardiff City beat Reading 2-1 away from home. Cardiff did leave it quietly at 85th minute goal to get the win. I'm sure after that first half, Nathan, considering 1, Reading are managed by Paul Ince, and 2, it's Reading, and how bad Cardiff were, it just felt like the team somehow got worse from that Swansea game.
Yeah, I was, well, if anyone's seen the video, but honestly, I don't blame you if you haven't, because that was absolutely shambolic. The first half, some of the worst football I have seen last week was the worst game I've seen in my entire life. It was that bad. But this week was just shambolic in the first half. Players don't have a clue. They don't care. I've said it so many times. They don't care about the club. They don't want to be at the club. They want to leave the club. There's just no effort. Second half puts the right players on. They get an absolute hammering at halftime and they bring it back and win 2-1. But what I do think that Steve Morrison has done is very good is said that the following players are never playing for Cardiff City Football Club again because of their attitude and their recent performances. Alex Smithies, Aidan Flint, Leandro Bacuna, Marlon Pack, and there's a few others that I can name as well. And rightfully so. In a way, I'm happy for a few of those names to never see them play for the club again. But yeah, one other thing I will take from that, to be honest, well, one thing for certain, I just want this season to be completely over, quite frankly, because I have nothing positive to say about my club at the moment. Is that Reading's ground the most dangerous place I have ever seen in my life? I've been there 5 times. I counted about 3-4 people who got really badly hurt there. It is so dangerous. It's ridiculous.
Nathan, can I actually this? What is going on at Cardiff? There's been so much rumors about the ownership as well.
Yeah.
And like I said, the players not playing. I know Smithies. I knew Smithies back from Huddersfield. I used to see him a few times at the gym. And he was a decent guy. I did not surprise his attitude be like this at the moment. So how has that turned this sour from at Cardiff City? How has it gone that sour?
For me, it's been brewing for years. I mean, ownership, Vincent Tan, ever since you had ever since you come out of the Premier League with COVID, he's just stopped caring about the club. We've racked up £100 million in debt, which is just absolutely criminal. 3 court cases, as everyone knows as well, one of which we have surprisingly won, and then we've got 2 more to go as well, which is concerning. But it's overpaying players, terrible ownership decisions as well. Mick McCarthy was probably the most ridiculous thing we have done, bringing him in and then offering him a new contract, made it all sour. And yeah, there's the amount of problems at that club. I could go on for days. There's a list longer than my arm, but this summer is probably the biggest summer in the club's history with what is going to happen. And I am absolutely nervous for it. But there's one thing crystal clear for me, and that is Vincent Tan needs to sell the club as soon as possible. He says he wants to sell it, and which we've been wanting for 10 years now, ever since he came in 2010. And our fans deserve to see our first good owner in 25 years, going from Sam Hammam to Peter Ridsdale to Vincent Tan. When are our fans going to have a let up? That's what I want to know.
Mike Ashley's available.
I would just say before we had the record button, Nathan, for word for it, said he would take the Glazers.
Yes, I did.
So, I think they're not desperate. But we are now going to move on to the Champions League, your Conference League and Europa League previews.
Yeah.
We're not going to preview every single game because who cares about some South Korean team playing some option, the Conference League. We'll talk about the irrelevant teams and the relevant games. Starting off with the Champions League. Let's start off in order. Tuesday's first game, Bayern Munich hosting Villarreal. Unai Emery gets in a 1-0 win in Spain. Reece, could he go away to Bayern Munich? A very tough place to go on a European scene, and somehow knock out Bayern Munich. I feel like Bayern Munich are going to be up for this game and they're going to have a reaction. I think Lewandowski is going to score a couple. It's just hard to see how Villarreal win this game. They did very well to get the result in Spain, but do you see them getting the result they need in Germany?
Bayern will win this at least 4 or 5-1. At least 4 or 5. But they'll just turn up and they'll just get on with it. I think Villarreal are a very good side, defensively, but I don't expect them to do anything in terms of in Germany. Bayern's record at home is impervious. It's fantastic at home in terms of Europe. Highest scorers in the tournament for a reason. They did the exact same thing against Salzburg though. The exact same thing. They just gave away a sloppy goal and they just couldn't be more effective. But when they went back to their own ground, they dealt with it. And I think they'll do the exact same thing against Villarreal. I think they'll start early. You'll see them from the very first whistle. They'll just be on Villarreal like a rash. They'll just be at them doesn't matter if it's through the wings or through the middle. They'll just get at them. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's 3-0 at halftime.
Carl will be an Unai Emery masterclass or a Bayern Munich victory.
Tough one, actually. I think how Villarreal just, how did well in the first leg. Bayern Munich got a lot to prove to ground this year. They really do. And like Doug said, they needed an 80-minute winner against Augsburg this past weekend. Bayern being so consistent in Champions League, they have been for the last decade. I feel like they could edge this just. I think Villarreal will just go out just about, but I think Bayern will just have the strength to get to the semi-finals. I really do.
George?
Yeah, it is actually quite tough to call because it's basically a sort of two-pronged thing, which is either that Bayern will absolutely batter them, which because as Reece has sort of spoken about, sometimes they just have something about them when they're at home in the Champions League where they come out of the trap all guns blazing, and that could be what happens. But obviously, the one thing you have to stand against that is the fact that Emery and Villarreal, as we know from ourselves, only not even a year ago in that Europa League final. I can anticipate there's going to be a very similar sort of thing where Emery's literally got two banks of players.
He could though.
Yeah, so they might pull off a masterclass, but I do think Bayern will go through overall.
There's everybody's objective. Please try and get the fit into 20 likes before we end the stream. The stream will be ending in about 25-30 minutes. We'll be touching on the European games and very little about the Scottish League before we wrap things up. Nathan, what do you think?
Yeah, for me, Bayern have got this. Villarreal, they've got far enough as it is. I mean, knocking out Juventus was absolutely superb, but yeah, good evening. I'm afraid it's going to be good night.
Okay. I'm going to ask you all yes or no for this one. Chelsea travel away to the Bernabeu. The 3-1 down. There is no away goals needed, so Chelsea don't have to go and score 3 goals unlike previous years. Can Thomas Tuchel's tricky Blues go and score 2 goals in Spain without Real Madrid scoring over Karim Benzema? Probably rip him another new one. So what do we think? Anybody got Chelsea making the comeback on Spain?
No, it's over.
Nope.
You had the perfect chance before Benzema scored his second goal, and you didn't take it.
It was Mendy.
So, yeah.
If Mendy never give a stupid ball away in the second half, you'd be thinking a lot more optimistic. But so it'll be a bad evening. For God's sake. Just fucking. I'm gonna. I can't even time. I'm dog on his own channel for that for the comment. So no one's got Chelsea making the comeback. Do we think it's going to be a 1-0, 2-0, a 0 each?
I think Chelsea will make it interesting. So I wouldn't be surprised if you guys didn't score first. But then I think the fact is it's such an unassailable deficit. I think that's the issue, is that because it's 2 goals, I think Real will just have enough. But I think there will be some hair-raising moments for Real Madrid even then. But like I said, I think it's the fact you lost by 2 goals. I think that's the real killer. If it had only been by 1 goal, I think you could possibly see it. But I think I do give Chelsea an okay chance, because I think you guys are obviously quite professional, and I think Tuchel's obviously a good manager. So I think you've got more of a chance than most teams would have of overturning it. But I still think, United are the only team that have ever in the Champions League ever overturned a 2-goal deficit away from home in the second leg. So that just shows how slim your chances are.
I think it'll be a score draw. I think Havertz will keep scoring. I think he'll get your goal, but I think Benzema will just kill you off.
Can we just say how good Karim Benzema? His 2 headers were just they were sublime. They were, and Vinicius Junior on that left, Karim Benzema's header, Modric rolling back the years. I think it was Doug George you were complimenting David Alaba as well. Just absolutely. Real Madrid have some quality players, and I think Ancelotti. I don't know if Ancelotti's game plan, because obviously he was stuck in isolation for most of it. But regardless, he ever came up with that game plan for Real Madrid, it was
how Real Madrid will ever replace him. I don't know. Like, that is going to be more. It's going to be
Benzema or Modric.
Benzema. I think it'll be harder for Real Madrid to replace Benzema than it will for them to replace Ronaldo. Personally, yeah. I think it will be, because a player of his ability through the middle, it's unbelievable. It's the same way like Bayern Munich with Lewandowski. Like, they can sign anybody, but it's hard to replace someone not just with the goal output. But don't even just no, no. Like, there's output for performance, but there's more to a striker nowadays than just scoring goals. It's assists, and Lewandowski and Benzema has been doing that for a while. They know, respectively, the numbers they can get. They are the best 2 front men by a distance. That pathetic Real Madrid journalist that said Benzema's now on Harry Kane's level, he needs to be dealt with. I don't sack him. Like, how can you say Harry Kane's better than Karim Benzema? Is baffling when Benzema right now is the best number 9 or front man in world football, and it's not even close. Like Lewandowski's like just behind them, but that there's morons, and then there's whoever compares Benzema to Harry Kane.
Yeah.
Like that's an insult to football.
George, I see you're dying to say something. Work away.
I was just going to agree, really. I mean, obviously Benzema, as you said, was just on another level right now. And just the final thing I was going to say was obviously about Ancelotti, was that I think, and obviously because we obviously disagreed about this in terms of his game plan in that first leg against PSG in the second round, that he, I actually think that was a good game plan that he had even then. It was just obviously Mbappe just had too much at that final stage. So really, I think Ancelotti's probably delivered in these knockout matches. Obviously, I've seen them all. These 3 knockout matches they've had so far, and I think Ancelotti's been instrumental in all of them. I think his game plan in all of them has been absolutely sensational.
He's so good up here.
He's an amazing manager, and obviously he's got Benzema to complete with in terms of the goals. But fantastic. Really,
very quickly, do we all think Karim Benzema has been this good for a while? It's just never got that respect compared to other European strikers, such as Harry Kane and stuff.
I don't get what it is with like Real Madrid fans and everything, but I mean, Gareth Bale is the absolute worst one that they absolutely trench. I mean, he's literally won them he's won them 2 Champions Leagues with his performances in the final, including that one against Liverpool with that bicycle kick and that superb goal against Butterfingers Carriers. But I don't see where
that was Bale. That was Bale. Yeah.
I like the disrespect that they give, that the Real Madrid fans give their players is just ridiculous. For me, they're a sport fan base. Like, it's when Hazard signed for him, when they had that like welcome event for him, and they chanted, "We want Mbappe."
Hazard has feel, but we'll move on.
He has feel, but Nathan is right though. Like Hazard, Hazard's been wanted at that club for years, and they did massively disrespect him. It was shocking behaviour. Like, look at the way they treated Xabi Alonso when he went to Bayern Munich. Like, that was awful. Like, he was instrumental for them winning the Champions League, even though he was suspended for the final. Like that final in 2014, he got suspended, but they literally told Khedira for this whole game, you're going to play like Alonso against Atletico. You're going to play like Alonso, and we're going to win this game. Of course, they've done it after extra time, but Alonso's style of football can just control the midfield. That's Benzema up front. Simple controlling the game. And Kane's spot on. Like, you don't lead the line for Real Madrid for 13 years if you're absolutely shit. Look at Raul. Like, a lot of fans turned on him when he went to Schalke, but he led the line at Real Madrid for 16 years. You don't lead that club, the greatest club in football. Pains me to say it, but it's the truth. You don't lead the greatest club in football for so long if you are shit.
Let's move on. Liverpool 3, Benfica 1. Liverpool won this one comfortably. We don't see Benfica going on an absolutely mad one, do we, at all?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, that's Benfica, even in the Portuguese league, are struggling big time at the moment. It's a club that's definitely on the down. Let's talk about probably the most interesting tie. It is Atletico Madrid and Manchester City. Atletico Madrid, who, without a shadow of a doubt, went to the end. They had to park the bus and play for knowledge. Like, how deep they sat in that game was bloody ridiculous. I didn't listen. I didn't actually see it with my own eyes. I did listen to it on the radio. I've seen pictures and highlights, and Simeone parked that bus as hard as he ever could have. And I think he probably would take a 1-0 Manchester City coming back into Spain, because we know how difficult it is to go to Atletico Madrid in a European night and get a result. Atletico Madrid, João Felix is on form, Luis Suarez is on form, Griezmann's playing well. It's a team that are in a really good spell of form in La Liga at the moment. Nathan, what do we think? Do we think Simeone...
They got beat 2-0 last night.
But they were probably worth focusing. I think Simeone was probably resting players for this game. I didn't see the lineup he put up. It was, Glasgow wing back. I don't really think is something you would do very often. What do we think, Nathan? Is Simeone going to pull us result off against Pep Guardiola?
It's going to be tough, but for me, the only way that Atleti are going to be able to win this game is if they get a goal early on. Really stun Manchester City, and then get that first goal, park the bus, get into extra time, tire them out, and then if they can survive onto penalties and get a goal in extra time, that's the only way they'll be able to win it. If Man City, however, get on the upper hand straight away and then do what Atleti did to them when they were at the Etihad, it is all over. And if I'm honest, with the way that Man City are approaching this game, at the moment, I can only see Man City getting a result in this one. And I think it'll probably be, it might even be a 0-0. But yeah, probably 1 or 2 goals to Man City.
George,
as well.
George, obviously, when Manchester United went away to the Metropolitano, it is a really tough atmosphere to play in, and even though Manchester United City are, heaven and hell apart away in terms of who they are as a football club, going away to Spain is ridiculously hard. And if Atletico Madrid start quick, and the fans are behind them, Atletico Madrid are not on this tie whatsoever, and I actually think they're going to beat Manchester City. I just think City are going to slip up, and I think Liverpool should win that. What do you think?
This is definitely, as you sort of said at the very start of this is definitely the most interesting tie of all four, because it is so finely in the balance. And you would assume that City would have too much for Atletico, because obviously on paper they do have, and as you've spoken about, they are light years ahead of United at this current moment. But Atletico are sort of Atletico just this ultimate sort of able to grind things out, and you can just about see. I think it all depends on Simeone's game plan. One thing I did notice as well, obviously, because I did watch obviously that first leg all the way through. One thing I did notice was that Atletico were doing their typical dark arts in terms of trying to rile players up. And that could be a way for them to try and get, if City were to go down to 10 men, let's say, if they did some sort of dark art crap, which that Simeone's going to ask one of them to really sort of try his best to do that. I could just about see that potentially happening. Obviously, Martin Keown was frothing at the mouth about Phil Foden as well throughout towards the end of the match.
There's something there that should never be discussed, but I think he has a Foden fetish, and it's very disturbing. It's very disturbing. I think he does have one.
Oh God!
But I think, it is actually very difficult to call. I can see it's very split. I think City will probably just scrape through, but it could easily go Atletico's way. It all depends on the game plan and if they can get one of the City players sent off as well.
Carl, what do you think?
Interesting, because, like I said, I don't think Atletico not had much shots as well in the first leg as well, because they just literally right back the buzz, And despite the loss 2-1 to Mallorca last night as well, it's going to be interesting. Like what George said, if Atletico scores in the first 5 minutes, all the game will change completely for them. They will go into that ultra pack the bus mode, and I'd say it will be just exhausted, tired through extra time. But like I say, you saw Jack Grealish roughing up with the Atletico players, and someone got booked. That could be the scenario game where Jack Grealish just gets under their skin, because we know how much they can be a bit very, very angry when they get bullied quite easily or teased in the way. Pep is going to have a game plan for that. If the City scores in the first 5-10 minutes or so, I think Atletico going to go for have a difficult night. They really do. But I said this could go either way, but I think I'm going to agree, Josh. I think City will just edge it if they can get the game plan in the first 10-15 minutes.
And Reece, for you?
I'll be honest, I'm not sure. I think this really is the definition of ultimate attack versus ultimate defense. I've always been more of a fan of attacking football over defending football, but Simeone, when it comes to pragmatism, he really is the best at it. There's nobody better than him at pragmatic defending, and he actually makes pragmatic defending look like an art form. I honestly don't know. I think the difference is if Atletico at least get a shot, even if it's just one shot registered, because they didn't have a single shot even on target or off target against City. If they get at least a shot, that should be for them. That should be a plus. I honestly don't know. I think this could go either way. I think if City were to concede very early on, I don't think it goes to extra time. I don't think it does. I don't think this game is going to extra time at all, regardless of Atletico score. I think this game will be done in 90 minutes. I think whoever scores first is actually going to be the one that gets knocked out. So I think even if City score. I think Atletico could put 2 past them. It wouldn't surprise me if Simeone tells them, right, fuck it, we're just going to go for it. And the quality they've got, they could score past City more than once. They could easily do it.
João Felix and Luis Suarez at the front two cannot be overlooked.
Yeah, I agree. In the midfield as well, obviously you can't overlook Marcus Llorente as well, whether he's playing at right wing back or he's playing in midfield. He's a very good midfielder, very underrated. One I appreciate. Driving force. Koke as well, like he's 29, but he plays like he's 25. Like he's youth in his legs, like very mature performer. Herrera, fantastic. Jimenez, he's imperious at centre back. All Black is still useful in terms of like, keeping shots out.
Carrasco is still a good player.
Yeah, but I think Lamar's more effective than Carrasco. I don't think Carrasco's that, but Carrasco, if he needs to, he will deliver you a goal. There's something in there. Yep, Kondogbia, I agree. I think Correa's the one. Personally, I think Correa's the difference. I think his pace as well and his good finishing. It's hard to call, really. I don't know. I think whoever scores first is the one that's ultimately going out.
Well,
I can't call this one. I can't call this one personally.
We're not gonna fly through the European, Europa League, and the two big standard European Conference League games. Starting off with keeping with you, Reece. RB Leipzig traveling away to Atalanta, a 1-1 draw from Germany. This is a very tight game to call. Two evenly matched teams, two teams both doing well in their leagues. Who do you think is going to slightly edge it?
I think Leipzig are going through. I think Leipzig have learnt their lesson from the first leg. They made a stupid mistake. I watched that game as well. I was watching that game and after the Rangers game, so I watched both. It was just a lack in concentration, which is when Atalanta scored. But the pressing from Leipzig soon after as well, like they just kicked in. They should have had another goal or two, but the one thing they have got is like far better players, and they've got Nkunku's in form as well. Like, he's going to be the difference. I think Leipzig will go through. I think it'll finish 2-1. In my opinion, I think it'll finish 2-1. Leipzig are going through 3-2 in aggregate.
Nathan, Barcelona Frankfurt. This game ended 1-1 in Germany. Frankfurt put on a resilient display with Barcelona, especially at the Camp Nou, and they won 3-2 at the weekend, and Aubameyang scoring once again. Pedri, exceptional. You think Barcelona will be too much for Frankfurt at the Camp Nou?
I don't know. I really don't know, because Frankfurt impressed me when they did well. When Barcelona did go there, very difficult place to get a result that, and fair play to them for grinding that 1-1 draw in the end. But going to the new camp, I'm not sure. I'm really, really not sure, you know. Either way, both teams could go through, and Barcelona could turn into a Barcelona and just completely exit out the Europa League. But yeah, 2-1 to Barcelona, I think it will be in the end, and it'll be a late goal.
Should have been a draw last night as well.
George, West Ham traveling away to Lyon after the 1-8 at the London Stadium. West Ham are feeling leggy. Now they're going to have to travel away to France, and as much as we do not rate the French league in any shape or form, the French atmosphere, especially on European nights, are very difficult to contend with. And a tired West Ham going to Lyon. But Lyon are not as good as West Ham. It's hard to call. What do you think?
Yeah, as you said, it is quite hard to call. Obviously, he spoke a bit about Rice as well in the chat in terms of his performance against Brentford. But he's a player that I don't rate whatsoever. But yeah, I think overall it's difficult to call. But I'd probably say I think I'm leaning more towards Lyon. I think with that home advantage, I think they're gonna go through
and league position.
Yeah, probably 2-1. I'll say to Lyon, which makes them go 3-2.
So onto the two European Conference League ties. The first one is Roma and Bodo Glimt.
You forgot a game.
in the thing in the Europa League.
Rangers. Braga.
Sorry, I was about to give that one to Carl. My bad. My head's away. My apologies, Carl. Yes, Rangers and Braga. Obviously, sorry, I'm knackered. I'm knackered. Leave me alone. Carl.
No.
Braga obviously went 1-0 in Portugal. But considering Rangers may not be on the best run of form, St. Mirren result aside, going to come back to Ibrox. only needing to get a goal back into the eye is probably ideal for Rangers. Braga not great, but either are Rangers. How do you see this one going?
It's really tough at the moment because of Rangers, how they've been in difficult form, despite now they don't have to worry about much of the post-season split. Now, there's who they're playing. The last game they have to play again, it's going to be Hearts. Excuse me. But in the Europa League, I think they could have been a little bit better in the first leg at Braga. It was really, really, really difficult. That was a really shit game for Rangers. And Ginny Van Bronckhorst has got a lot to realise that it's a make or break it game if they want to get to the semi-finals for Rangers, because how much he's had to come in mid-season, take over Jai, what he's done, and it's going to be tough. But I think Braga will be very defensively. I will know that, but Rangers will have to really start getting the first few shots within the first 15-20 minutes to try to get the chance to try to win the second leg, because it's now or never if they want to play against Barcelona or West Ham to get to the final. I think Rangers will edge it just by 2-0.
Winner plays Leipzig at Atalanta, so it's actually quite a more interesting tie.
Yeah,
I think Rangers are actually going through. The only thing is though is Lundstrom got injured.
Mm-hmm.
Don't rate him. He's fucking awful. Davies came on, controlled the whole game against St Mirren. Aaron Ramsey, he was fit to play against St Mirren. He better be playing against Braga, because this is a game he came in for the big games. Roof finally getting his first hat trick is the difference. I think he'll be up for it. He needs to play Barisic at left back, because you cannot, beside Bassey at centre back, he's going to be back in because Hollander got injured. No surprise. That weak man got injured again. That's something that needs to change. He will have to play Bassey, but I think there's a good chance we get Barisic back into the team because he was effective from the left-hand side. Tavernier as usual. I agree with that in terms of Rangers. I think 1 goal's enough. I think Rangers are probably going to do what they did. Funnily enough, Rangers are the furthest Scottish team in Europe since Rangers did it in 2008. Got to the then UEFA Cup final. No team's got further. Apparently Celtic are the best team in Scotland. Are they? Fuck. Clearly not. They've got a better record of going out in Europe. If you want to be successful at Brexit, ask Celtic. They know a thing or two about Brexit. But in terms of Europe, they're better in Europe than they are in league form. I think that response going to get St Mirren as well. I know it's St Mirren, but even so away from home, where they had to respond after 2 defeats in a row, 4-0. I think Rangers will win the game in extra time, to be honest.
So now moving on to the European Conference League, George. The team from the White Blue Glent won 2-1 against Roma, the 3rd consecutive victory over Jose Mourinho's men. Will they go out to the Stadio Olimpico and get their 4th straight win over Roma, this time knocking them out of the European Conference League?
I think it's going to be a difficult one, again, in that respect, because the one thing we know about Jose Mourinho is that he does, and he's sort of led us to that final trophy that we all those many, I can't believe all those many years ago.
5 years ago.
5 years ago. Who would ever have thought? At that point, we all thought it was going to be that one thing. It was going to be that moment that was going to change everything, and here we are, totally, ultimately frustrated. But I think he's going to manage to overturn this. I think Roma will win by 3-1.
Jose Mourinho said the European Conference League image has been completely ruined by terrible plastic pitches, no VAR, and the worst officials he's ever seen. I think it's just a classic Jose Mourinho.
hit by snowball as well too. So yeah,
the funniest thing about that entire game wasn't Bodo Glimt beating them again. It's the fact that Mourinho got his head kicked in by the Bodo Glimt coach. That the coach kicked the shit out of him. I thought that was the best part of the whole 90 minutes.
If Bodo Glimt get to the semi-final of the European Conference League when their league's not even on and beat Roma 4-2 to the quadruple over Jose Mourinho's Roma, he deserved to go for it. He deserved to win the competition on that alone.
I think they will. I think they are going through. I think as good as Roma are, as good as Roma are, they've got a very good squad. Mourinho, I don't know what the hell he's playing at, but Mourinho in a back three just does not work. It just does not work. I don't care. I don't care that they're fifth in the league and they can catch Juventus. Like the league around them isn't good enough. That's the only reason why they're there. A back three system in Jose Mourinho just doesn't work, and it's reflected by the fact in Europe he's doing the same thing. Mkhitaryan, he's a number 10. Come on, like he's playing him off like Zaniolo and Gian. Gian is like not comfortable. Zaniolo isn't even a striker; he's a midfielder.
Yeah,
and he doesn't have the likes of like Pellegrini on top form right now. Like all due respect, like if Roma go through, I would call that a bigger shock than Bodo Glimt going through because Roma are fucking awful, whereas Bodo Glimt have been actually very consistent in the Conference League.
They've been very sneaky and just kind of working out for you. And if they do the quadruple over Jose Mourinho, all you can do is laugh at Jose Mourinho.
Even if they don't go through, they've beaten Mourinho 3 times and they're knocked out Celtic. Even if they don't go through, that's enough. That's plenty for me.
Nathan, PSV and Leicester City nil each at the King Power. This is a difficult game to go to, for a difficult venue for Leicester to go to in the European game. PSV doing very well, obviously, in the Dutch league. What do we think? Do we think Leicester are going to go through?
This is tough. I think this is probably the toughest one we've had to predict all night, to be honest. Leicester drawing at home in the first leg was probably the biggest disadvantage they could have. Because looking at it now, if they would have ground out a result against PSV in Eindhoven, then I maybe would have backed Leicester at home to grind out a victory, probably in extra time. But I don't know. I really don't know on this one. It'll probably be first goal gets it, but I feel like PSV are just going to edge it for me.
All right. So the final thing I want to talk about before we do is obviously for anybody who wasn't aware, Carl, Reese, and Doug all met up to watch Livingston and Motherwell. Motherwell getting a last-minute equaliser to get a 2-2 draw. I just want you, obviously, said Reese, you've known Doug for a while. First we met up, Carl, you joined. I just want you. I'll start off with Reese and come to you, Carl. Just talk about your experience and all you guys meeting up and what it was like watching the football game and the game itself. Just to end on a nicely positive note after COVID and. Finally being able to meet up, which was fantastic to see. I'm assuming that me and George and Nathan can all join you. Hopefully that's something that we can all hopefully do in the future, since we're all obviously all UK based. So if we start with you, what was the experience like meeting up with Doug and just a wee bit about the game itself?
Well, we might be going to a game next month, so if you want to come up, then feel free. It was generally a good laugh. It was generally a good laugh. I mean, like the fact that like even like the card machine like took the piss out of me as well was really funny. Like it was just a good atmosphere. Like the only thing that was funny was me and Carl like had more fun looking at live scores than Motherwell the entire game. Like every time a goal went in, like we were like, "Oh, has Motherwell done anything yet?" Even though they were right in front of us. Like Motherwell did nothing the whole game. Their fans are shite, by the way. Like the fans were silent for 75 minutes. I was saying to the lads as we went out, I've heard more noise at a graveyard. Like, and that says it all for me. Like they were just so bad. And at the very end as well, like they scored their second goal. Fair enough, it denied Livingston the top 6 finish, but they didn't deserve anything from that game, like at all. They did nothing for about 75 minutes. Their fans were jumping the barriers trying to get to the Livy fans, and I was like, we were all just sitting there like, well, fucking come for it. Like, like they were just pathetic. And the funniest thing as well is you lads have seen it. Like I've been to Ibrox in a European night, and there was flares everywhere. I showed you what the Legia Warsaw fans done. The smoke covered the whole stadium. They had 2 flares, and all they had was like a little bit of the stand like covered. And I was like, "This is your handle."
Shocking. That is so simple.
It was so embarrassing. Like I've actually got a picture of it. Actually, let me grab my phone. I'll show you how funny it was. 1 second. But meeting those 2, quality, fucking some laughs like including the Jaguar.
Carl, I'll come to you. Obviously, talk about the match day experience. Also, on top of that, Hearts obviously winning the big derby 3-1 and giving Hibs a bottom half finish. Hibs obviously been atrocious this season, while Hearts have been good. On top of your match day experience with Reese and Doug, I'm sure that the icing on the cake is Hearts winning 3-1 against Hibs, obviously the big Edinburgh derby, to make Hibs finish bottom half
Oh,
in the post split.
let me tell you that it was the best day of my life when I saw on the table that Hibs were not in the top six, and I don't know how a few friends who are Hibs fans are not going to speak to me because we knocked them out of the top six. But no, really good, decent season for Hearts. Actually, we solidified third place now. I think it's been a really good season, despite we come back from the championship. So. Yeah, that's a picture right there. They just come on the pitch, and then the announcer said, "Oh, fans will be banned for you guys in any state." It was like, that's not the fucking point. That's what I said. That's what we both said. It's not the fucking point. And we just like, you know what? There's no point making that announcement. So it was a bit like, yeah. But no, it was a really good banter match day experience with Reece and Doug down at Liver. It was, yeah. So I really enjoyed it. And it's like my first game in 2 years as well, too. So, it's been a long time coming. But what our atmosphere was near the Louis fans, really was right next to where we were with them in the West Stand. It was really good atmosphere.
The funny thing is, though, is like we were all shouting and swearing and all that, like getting involved, right? But see when you hear Doug swear right beside you at a live game, it's fucking funny.
It is funny.
He was like calling them bastards, like pricks, called somebody a cunt.
Oh yeah, he did.
I was laughing my ass off. It was fucking funny.
Carl, I want to quickly ask you this: as we're into the split now in the Scottish League, do we think the Scottish League's been a bit different because you've got Hibs, Livingston, and Aberdeen in the bottom half. You've got last year's Scottish Cup winners, literally 6 points off CFD, and then you've got Dundee United and Ross County, the top six. It's a bit of a topsy-turvy Scottish League, but it proves the Scottish League has been really, really competitive this year. When you've got Hibs, when you've got Hibs and Aberdeen, who were obviously have been very good these last few years in the top half. Now they're in the bottom half, and Ross County and Dundee United in the top half. Carl, and Johnstone looked like they could very well be going down as well. So it's been a good Scottish year, hasn't it? But it was some very surprising positions.
Yeah, it has been very surprising, but it's been a very good Scottish season. You did expect teams like, I think Aberdeen, we did expect them to be so bad, especially when they got Stephen Glass, and that didn't work out. Now looking at Jim Goodwin, he's gonna have a long summer to get the squad right for the Dons. For him, Sean Malone, he's only been in a couple of months in his job after what happened when they dropped Ross. It was just so dire, and we did expect these teams, like those two teams, to be in the bottom six. That was very surprising. But fair play to Ross County, because there were few people's favourites for relegation this season, and they turned it around. And even Dundee United have had a very good season as well. So it's surprising how much this season has been very, very incredible. And, like I said, Hearts were well, like 10 points ahead of everyone else in the bottom, the low league, the teams below us. So, it's very surprising how much this Scottish Premiership season has been tremendous this season. And I think it will be ranked as one of the top 10 at the moment in the league seasons all time. How it's been great. So, yeah, really a lot of surprises.
I'll ask you, I think Carl summed up that very well. St. Johnstone said they won the League Cup last year. They won the Scottish Cup last year. They're 6 points off St. Mirren. Obviously, they're going to play St. Mirren. They're going to play all the teams in the bottom half. But you said they got absolutely demolished by Celtic there at the weekend. I just don't see how St. Johnstone turn it around. They're a team that's got low confidence, not scoring goals, conceding a lot of goals. Do you think, after all their success last year, they might be playing in the Championship next year? And Reese has some doubts.
Sorry, there's questions in the live chat that I was actually answering. It was easier to type than speak.
Well, I'll give it short, simple.
Sorry.
Are St. Johnstone going to get relegated?
Oh yes, like they're fucking awful. Like they're going down. They're going to get beaten in the playoffs by Arbroath. Like Arbroath will beat them in the playoff finals, and unfortunately, Kilmarnock are coming back up. What a waste of Scottish football. Dundee, they're just the Norwich of Scottish football, like just up and down, like fuck off. You were useless at the weekend. St. Mirren, like they're in that area as well. They're very poor. Like frankly, if it was up to me, I'd dump the three of them. I'd kick all 3 of them out and replace them with 3 different teams. But like the playoff final is going to be interesting. And just to answer Cian's question about why they split into 2 blocks, it's so they can determine the European and relegation spots in the playoffs easier. So you'll have the top 6 players against each other to determine the European places. Completely, it's just them against each other. And then the bottom half is to determine who's in the playoff position, who finishes best the rest, and who does get relegated. It completely nullifies the top club playing against the bottom club to determine their league position. It's 12 versus it's 7th down to 12th against each other, 1st versus 6th, just to nullify any advantage. It's to make it easier in determining league. Yeah, it completely nullifies advantage. It nullifies advantage altogether.
That's exactly how the Irish League works. For example,
it works really well.
The Irish League has split, so we play Ballymena who Ballymena are 8th, we're 7th. The first place gets Champions League, second place gets Europa League, third place I think it's European Conference League, and then the teams between 4th and 7th. So fourth will play 7th, and then 5th will play 6th. And then the winner of those 2 games play each other in a European playoff. So whoever wins between 4th and 7th, so it gives the team 7th in the bottom half of the split something to play for, as they'll get a chance again to European playoff. So that's where Glenavon are. Glenavon still have a ton to play for.
But we've got it next year. Like we've got it next year in terms of the league, where like finally after so long, like it's going to be Celtic, which makes me ill. But Celtic win the league, they're going to go into the Champions League group stage automatically next year. Like that's our coefficient, thanks to Rangers, by the way. Like no other Scottish club, it was Rangers that fixed the coefficient by their European runs. That is effectively Celtic are going to go into the group stage, and then Rangers at the minute, unless they somehow win the Europa League, I don't think they will, but they are the dark horse. If Rangers can win, they go automatically in. There is an effect right now in terms of like Scottish football is finally getting the European place it actually deserves.
I tell you one thing that's bizarre about Wales as well is that looking at it now as well, this is probably unheard of in other leagues, but they're actually cancelling a relegation place because the set to be champions of Cymru South Lanswick Major, which is just down the road and everything. We used to play cricket for the cricket club as well. Was that they're not actually allowed to get promoted because their ground does not fit Premier League regulations. So even though they have won the league and have got promotion, they're not allowed to go up to the Premier League. It's absolutely unheard of, and it'll only happen in Wales. Absolutely bizarre.
Just about to think. No, Keane, it's not the fact, it's not that. I think the reason why when there's 12 teams in the league, you play each other 3 times, and then the split you play each other the 4th time. The whole point of the split is when you play each other the 4th time, the relegation teams aren't going away to Celtic, Rangers, and Hearts, for example. In the last 3 games, it's just to give it more of a fair balance. So the relegation and the title races are just more. It's more competitive. It means the bigger teams, there's bigger atmospheres, and the smaller teams, it's just more of a fair sense. It gives it more of a logistic way of playing. It would not work with 20 teams. It would not work with 20 teams because 20 teams only play each other twice, and then they make it would really complicate the split. But when you play each other 3 times in the split, you play each other the 4th time. It makes a bit more sense. But that's why the split's very unique. I think only the Welsh League, the Northern Irish League, and the Scottish League do it for that particular reason. But at 9:05, that is our podcast over and done with for another week. For anybody who has not seen Doug's channel, there will be no World of Football podcast next week due to a Liverpool and Manchester United preview that he is doing. So there will be a podcast that will be on my channel under the Josh and Reese podcast. So we will still be live at 7:00. It just won't be on the Doug Football channel. It will be on my YouTube channel, JVSH.
We're doing the quiz.
I have to work that one out. I'll see what I'm able to.
Yes.
I'll see what I'm able to entertain. But the podcast will be on my channel next week, 7:00. Doug will be doing a Liverpool United preview instead. So just to quickly go around, everybody say the goodbyes, final words. And start with you, Nathan.
So thanks for watching, everyone. It's been another quality podcast as usual. There'll be no live stream for the whole match this Friday in terms of my channel, just to advertise, of course, because I won't be. I'll be doing other stuff. And so next one now, we are playing Luton Town next Monday as well at 3:00. Not sure when that video will be out, maybe Tuesday next week. But yeah, so my channel link in the description below. And if you haven't seen it from yesterday and fancy seeing me moan for the first half and seeing some mad limbs, yeah, go watch my Reading vlog.
And just remember, everybody, next Monday is also Easter Monday. If you celebrate Easter and all that shabby stuff, it's also, I'll try and come up with some Easter special as well. Mr. Kyle, obviously, it's actually good to see you smiling, and I've really enjoyed some of your answers to some of the things. I know you watch match, and then you watch as much football as you can, and your tactical insight is fantastic. And you kept your colour about Manchester United. I thought you're actually a bit nicer to them. I seen there was a fan who went to Carrigan today and posted up a sign saying "fuck off, you." What was it? Embarrassing shitbags here out of the club. I thought that might have been you who put it up there, but I don't think it's that bad. But any plans for the cinema this week? Are you going to be watching the Champions League games? What's the plans for the week?
Oh yeah, obviously enjoyed the Champions League games last week, and we'll be watching them again this week. Try and fit in Morbius, obviously, at the cinema at some point over the next week as well. But yeah, it's always great to be on, and so thank you very much for having me as always. And thanks as always, especially obviously to the comments. They're the sort of lifeblood of the channel, obviously with the all the watchers. And remember to like, share, and subscribe as always as well.
Carl, absolute pleasure to see you again, my friend. Thank you for joining us for the second hour of the podcast. Again, your insight, especially the Scottish League, and which I obviously did not realise last time. I remember that for this time.
Yeah, you do now.
And
thank fuck they won the derby.
And obviously Leeds form is better. So you're probably loving life right now. Anything come up on any of your social medias that anybody should be aware of?
No, not really. The Total Leaving Home Football Podcast is now going to be on break till summer. I've got some stuff personally I want to work out first. Then I'm hopefully we're going to be back relaunching this summer. I'm going to speak to one of my friends who's a graphic designer who can help with the design our channel, get with some artwork and stuff. But for now, I'm probably not going to do nothing. I'm going to have a quiet Easter break. Just going to relax as well. No Leeds games on, so no, I won't be back on for a while till we get a game back on the 25th. I'll probably be back on some other channels as well. But no, I'm just going to relax behind the scenes and try to focus on things what I want to do personally with my career development wise. But for now, nothing for me is happening. So
I wish you all the best for that, and hope you succeed in what you're trying to do. And Reese, and I don't know what you always come up with these weird sayings, like you've said so many that I can't even try and remember one word by word. But what's your famous saying for tonight?
I'm not a Nazi.
All right, well, all right.
That's one. Like I am quarter German, but I'm not fucking Nazi. Like, Jesus Christ, like, there's some things I do disagree with in human history, and I do agree with the Nazi regime. Although they did give us the Autobahn and the Volkswagen Beetle, they also gave us mass genocide. I ain't a fucking Nazi, so bolt. For me, it's purely just carry on with shit as normal. I'm a year older as of tomorrow, so quarter of a century. That's going to be fun, apparently. And other than that, it'll just be normal as usual, watching more football, causing more carnage, probably back streaming this week myself, my own stuff. And I'm not a Nazi, but if you're a cunt, then fuck off. There you go. And cheers for having me. Live chat is booming as always.
In regard to myself, I'll be making my return on my YouTube channel next week. I've not been doing any videos this year. I'll be back next week. I'm going to be doing some different. I'm going to be doing videos outside of football. I'll be doing a vlog for my trip to Dublin for my first time. Nice. I've been requesting to do TikTok reaction videos. There'll be TikTok reaction videos. There's also going to be. I've also been requested to do bacon videos. People apparently be interested to see what it's like baking in Northern Ireland. So I'll be doing that too. If anybody's interested in that, I'll be doing it along with football, and obviously keeping my fun editing, funny music, malarkey, all of that will all be included in it. Trust me, it takes bloody forever. You sit here and edit for hours just for a simple 10-minute video. It's a pain in the ass, but it's fun. And I said I'm off all of next week because my bakery's closed for Easter all of next week, so I actually get to stay in bed. You know, between
I've got the English bank holiday, so I'm off Thursday to Tuesday.
between January and April, I have worked every single day, all around the Sundays. So this is a break that I cannot absolutely wait for. So everybody, thank you for watching the Dugout Football Channel. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, give Doug the subscribers. Let's try and get this beautiful man to 2K subscribers as he's edging ever closer to it, and give him a perfect Easter break. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Hope to see you next week on my channel for the Josh and Reese podcast. And also, come on the Chelsea!
My show says bye.